So I'm going to be talking about a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. Who here has heard of the Three Stooges? One out of 8 let's get this started. I got a visual aid to pass that around. Alright. The Three Stooges were a comedic slapstick group from the 1920s to the 1960s. The comedy trio had a colorful 40-year history in show business. Their comedy style methodology has influenced comedians, movies, TV sitcoms, and many other aspects of popular culture up to this day. Although many people know who the Three Stooges are, not many know who the early history of the group and how they became known as the Three Stooges. So in order to do this, we must look back at their life stories, which are actually pretty interesting if you read up on them. Mo Howard was born in Moses Horowitz in Bessenburg, New York, in June 19th, 1897. He was the fourth eldest of 5 brothers. 2 of his brothers I'd like to note, Jerome and Samuel, otherwise known as Curly and Shemp, would join the act later on. In 1909, Mo started his first job in show business at the Vitagraph Studios in Brooklyn, New York. This is brought to you by Stooges.com. That same year, Mo met Ted Healy. He would later become a very famous vaudeville actor, and they'd also become very great friends up until his untimely death in 1937. In 1922, the 2 friends renewed their acquaintance and began their partnership that would last for 10 years, a fractured 10 years, though I might add. And later on, his brother Samuel, Shemp, would end up joining the group as well. A little fun fact, I found this out too on the Stooges website. On June 7th, 1925, Mo married Helen Schulenberg, the late cousin of Harry Houdini. Who would have thought? After a short vacation, Mo rejoined the act with the addition of the new Stooge Larry Fine. Following a successful stream of vaudeville acts, both in theater and film, the Ted Healy and the Stooges act escalated to their first feature film in 1930 called Soup to Nuts. Preceding the film, the group signed on to Metro-Goldwyn and starred in a series of their own shorts. Then in 1934, the Three Stooges split from Ted Healy and ended up going to Columbia Pictures. Their first first short they made, called Woman Haters, came out that same year. The second Stooge to join the act was Mo's brother Samuel Horowitz, or Shemp, as I've said several times. Shemp was born Samuel Horowitz in Brooklyn, New York, on March 7, 1895. He received the nickname Shemp because his mother would call him Sam because she had a thick European accent. It always came out as Shemp, so the name stuck. And that was brought to you by Stooges.com as well. Before Mo partnered up with Ted Healy, Mo and Shemp worked together on a number of amateur vaudeville acts until ultimately teaming up with Healy, their old schoolmate. And it's actually a very interesting story how Shemp joined the act. Apparently, he went to go see them in an act at a local theater. He was just sitting in there in the crowd, and Mo heard his brother's unmistakable laugh, and he had Healy call him up. And what followed later was an ad-libbed act of slapstick and comedy that just made the audience just love it. And from then on, he was part of the gang. And after shooting Soup to Nuts, Healy decided to leave the show that they were part of, called J.J. Surbiton Broadway New York Review, with Mo and Larry, but Shemp decided to stay with the show. There is an alternate theory of why he decided to leave, was because, like I said, the 10 years that they were together, it was a fractured 10 years, and mainly because Ted Healy had a drinking problem, and he also hoarded money from the Stooges. And they broke apart, and then he persuaded them to come back. And the second to last time that they broke apart from Ted Healy, Ted Healy was really mad about this, and he threatened to bomb any stage that they would go on, and this really scared Shemp. So he decided to stay away from this and do his own thing and his own act. But then he would later join the Stooges again in the mid-1940s after Curly suffered a stroke. He filled in as a 3rd Stooge until his death. The 3rd Stooge to join the group was Larry Fine. Larry Fine was born in Louis Feinberg, October 5th, 1902, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In comparison to the other Stooges, Larry is known for his facial expressions, piano playing, and violin playing. The violin playing actually has a very interesting story to it as well. When he was a small child, his father owned a jeweler shop, and he spilled acid all over his arm. And in order to save his arm, doctors had to perform a skin graft, and the doctors recommended that in order to strengthen the muscles in his arms to play violin. And this little exercise turned into a very good talent of his that actually helped propel his comedy act, and ultimately helped him join the Three Stooges. While he was performing in amateur theaters, Larry developed this act where he would play the violin and do a Russian dance at the same time. And this caught Ted Healy's attention when they were also performing the same act. And after Larry got off the stage, Healy went backstage, talked to him, offered him the job, and he said, you will be making $50 to $100 a week if you join my act. And according to the story that goes behind this, Larry, after hearing about this, says, for $50 or $100 a night, I'll smash my violin. And Healy goes, you in? He takes his violin and smashes it on the table. He goes, I'm in. And he goes, fine, let's do this. third stooge to join the act was Curly Howard, born Jerome Lester Horowitz, 1903, October 22nd, Brooklyn, New York. He was the fifth and youngest of the sons of Jenny and Sloan Horowitz. Jenny's interest in show business grew as he watched his brothers Shemp and Mo in the Ted Healy and the Stooges act. But as a young child, like 6, even 3 years old, he would perform for local neighborhood audiences. A little bit of an interesting fact that yucks and whoops came as a result of when Curly would forget his lines on stage, he would use them as vocal fillers, and they decided to use them in the shorts later on. As a child, Curly accidentally shot himself in the foot, and because he was a stubborn child, he didn't want to go to a doctor, so he ended up with a pronounced limp for the rest of his life. Now I'm telling you this because it helped to develop what a lot of Stooge people know is called the Curly Shuffle. It goes like this. That helped him to develop that. And after Shemp left, Mo suggested to Healy that his brother join the act. But Healy wanted Curly to shave his long brown hair and burly mustache. Can you imagine Curly with a mustache and hair? I can't. And but he said he wanted to shave the mustache and the hair because he wanted to give him an edge, because Mo had the bowl haircut, Larry had the porcupine hair. So this helped him give him an edge. Curly ended up falling into this reluctantly, but he finally did it. And that's how he got his name, because he was looking at himself in the mirror after he cut hair and he goes, "Boy, am I curly?" Larry Mo looks at him and goes, "That's it, that's your name for the act." Curly, yeah. And then they ended up joining, and then, yep. So, throughout their performances on stage and on film, the Stooges were able to develop a comedy style of all their own. The obvious humor and mix of various highbrow humor came as it made the Stooges very popular for all ages. Slapstick humor, of course, is very basic humor and everybody understands it, which gained them global popularity. And then, of course, the Stooge writers gave them short lines, funny lines, quick-witted lines that were culturally and socially significant. High-speed cameras and special effects and sound effects also helped their act greatly when they went to film. High-speed cameras gave their act a bit of a cartoonish feel to it, which was very revolutionary for the time, hadn't been done before. Made it that much more funnier. And then special effects also helped them with the slapstick, made it that much more funnier for the audiences. And plus the sound effects were actually pretty original for the time, and you never really hear anything like them if you ever watch an episode. And the Stooges' comedy also ran on a social and cultural level as well. Some of this culture and social humor is dated, but much of it is still considered funny today. Stooges made fun of everyone and everything, ranging from people, social classes, occupations, stereotypes, and they also made fun of places and events like the United States, Great Britain, France, Japan, the Great Depression, Prohibition, World War II, and the list goes on and on. The Stooges also have an impact on pop culture since the 1930s. Their comedy style and cultural relevance has continued to influence comedians, TV, films, and modern culture for nearly 80 years. That's a long time. The Stooges possess an influence on people, mainly because, like some examples would be Mel Gibson. He's a big Stooges fan, and also the Farley brothers who are coming out with the Stooges film coming out April next year. I'm really excited about that. And a little bit of a side example about how it has influenced pop culture that I found, it was really a big surprise to me. I went to a Rocky Horror Picture Showing back in August, first time I ever went. Not really my thing, but it was interesting. And there was actually Stooge lines being thrown back and forth in the comedy dialogue with the audience, and I was thinking, wow, that's interesting. And you can also apparently receive a degree in some universities in Stoogeology. Don't ask me how or why, but yeah. And then then apparently psychologists also use Three Stooges to analyze human behavior. Found this out in an article I found called "Which Stooge Are You?" And the Stooges' legacy in comedy is cemented as well, for they shall always be a hallmark in vaudeville and early Hollywood comedy because of their fast, original slapstick comedy. I believe that people will continue to reference the Three Stooges either to get a laugh or analyze a social or cultural situation, or even to analyze themselves. To go back to the article I just mentioned, there's a good quote in there that I decided to put in. It goes, "We're all variations of Mo, Larry, and Curly. Our lives are often short subjects filled with slapstick comedy." The trio have a great methodology, big comedy, and they've influenced people for a long, long time in modern culture, society. Whether that culture influence covers people, class, occupation, stereotypes, or places and events, the Stooges have been used to analyze social events and people to get a laugh from an audience, and it's also been borrowed by many comedians. I also have a video for you guys to watch. I had a lot of big variety. I didn't know exactly where to go because there's so many good examples I could bring out. And I just settled on this one because it shows their ability on stage as well as the mixture of the sound effects that they were using in the shorts. It's called Two Souls in a Hill. You guys might know it a little bit better as Slowly I Turned or Niagara Falls. Here it is. Notice in the back, the orchestra had to stop from laughing. Oh, oops. Okay, so that's my presentation. Now spread out and scram. Any questions?